My Adventures with Superman. What a time to be alive. I gotta say, when I woke up this year, I did not expect this show, of all things, to be released. I was expecting, garbage. But this is better than garbage.
Says Chang's Chinese takeout menu.
I have my grievances, but overall, I was pleasantly surprised.
Delightfully tangy, yet robust.
So here's how it's gonna go. I'm gonna list off what I liked about it, then I'm gonna list off what I didn't like, then I'm gonna take a snack break, and then I'm gonna summarize my feelings on the show total. Here we go. Let me just say that it is truly baffling that no one up until this point has really tried the whole Clark's past is a mystery because his daddy don't speak English path. Because it's pretty obvious. And now that it's been done, I have nothing to write for my fanfiction, so... But it was brilliant. Never have I liked a Superman story beginning with basically an all-expenses-paid starter pack. The man already has every superpower ever, and on top of that, you're just gonna give him a perfect backstory, a perfect mentor, and everything's perfect. More or less. I haven't seen a bunch of Superman stuff. But by keeping information from Clark, he actually has to work to figure out who he is, who the Kryptonians are, and reconnect to his past. The narrative functionality of this one simple change is truly staggering. What were the rest of y'all doing? It's also refreshing to get a story where the protagonist is actually just a good person. I know we love our 7-layered bean dip characters, but sometimes there legitimately are good people who want to do good things, and terrible people who want to be evil. I mean, they never put it that way. Some of them wouldn't anyway. My point is, having Clark Kent be the good-natured Boy Scout that he was always meant to be is cleansing me of the dreary Snyder slog that has been illegally taking up rent in my mind for the past 8 years or so. I also really like how Lois was handled. Story-wise, anyway. I mean, personality-wise, her A-typeness, always bending the rules to suit herself and being this manic ball of energy, it can get a little old at times. It fits into the whole quirky girl category, which, I'm over it. But what's good about this is how it rubs against Clark. Her dishonesty and manic energy clashes with his honesty and calmness, and creates, what? Conflict and good coupley chemistry. Not to mention it's conflict that gets reasonably resolved. What? They have reasonable arguments where both sides are bringing up good points and the relationship kind of feels natural and nice? This is crazy. I have a few gripes with it, but we'll get to that later. There were a lot of jokes in this show that actually made me laugh, which is not always a given these days. I love their boss, he's amazing. I love the sense of family and helping other people, which is permeated throughout the story, and I love the setup for the big bad in Season 2. It's a logical step forward, there's clearly a story plan, and not just Monster of the Week, maybe there's a story at the end, we don't know. Power creep is Superman's biggest enemy, and it's nice to see that someone's doing something about it. And I think the fact that I actually finished the whole show speaks volumes to at least its ability to keep me entertained and or drawn into the story for some reason or another. But enough about that, let's talk about the things I hated. First off, the animation. Clearly, the studio can animate. The theme song is proof of that. But I'm willing to bet there was not enough time nor budget to really make use of that studio, because I am seeing so many shortcuts it's not even funny. This entire shot is misaligned with the background, making everyone look like tiny people. And the fight scenes were pretty lackluster, not gonna lie. It's just disappointing. Why can we not give our TV shows more time and money? Is it really that much of a liability? Will no one think of the potential reward for putting more effort into things we make? Anyway, aside from that, the animation's fine, it's just a little cheap, I guess. Like, even more than normal Western cartoons. But they do a good job of hiding it, at least. I will say that. Then there's the backgrounds. This comes down to the art direction, but I'm not totally a fan of everything looking like it came out of a children's coloring book. It kind of delegitimizes the whole made-for-adults angle. You can have bright, colorful backgrounds that don't look like they're from a children's show, you know? Unless this was originally intended to be a children's show and it got swapped at the last second. Anyway, let's move on to this show's greatest travesty, the villains. Now, this. Look at this man. Isn't it sad? He can't be intimidating like the Teen Titans version. And that show was made for kids, so what is this? What are we coming to, people? What has all of this been for?
What am I working toward?
Yeah, needless to say, I do not consider Mullet Man over here to be anything even close to Deathstroke or Slade. They are not the same. This is his Canadian cousin, Tim. Mildly inconveniencing injury stroke. And don't get me started on other Mullet Man. Oh wait, that's a woman.
Ouch.
I don't know much about Livewire. I just know that this ain't her. There's nothing interesting about her character or her design, except it's an eyesore. She doesn't really do anything in the story either. Not much anyway. And this interrogation scene, you know how I can tell that this was primarily written by women? Because it is simultaneously the softest, most least violent superhero show you will ever see besides PJ Masks, while also having just so much kidnapping, restraining, and torturing. I don't understand why this is a thing, but it is. Help. And then there's this guy, Mr. Not Justin Hammer, Mr. Not Mark Beeks, Mr. Generic Megalomaniac Tech Billionaire Philanthropist. I have two thoughts on this man. First, his pre-villain form is annoying and ill-written. It is a straw man for what people think egotists and misogynists and sexists are like. He is a cardboard cutout, and I hate him. From a writing standpoint, not a character standpoint, which is not what you want.
What about the goatee?
Then there's his villain form, which is so forgettable I forgot his name.
Parasite!
All I remember is that his design looks lifted straight from Voltron. And that was all I could think about watching the whole episode where he's introduced. It's just like, the Galra are taking over!
Why are you shocking yourself?
Also, what is this? What did you do to my— well, they're not my boys, they're not even human. But still, what? Why? You gave me two very formidable and iconic villains from DC's catalog, and you chose to give them tea in a crumpet. The monkey's wearing a pink cardigan, everyone. Progress.
So thank you and curse you.
So I guess there's going to be no storyline with them as the villains. Wow. Okay. Wasted potential much? No, it's fine, just throw it away! Side note, Mix Piddle showed up out of nowhere. I did not realize he existed until this, and I was very confused. But you know, I don't mind a Chaos Gremlin. Every now and then. It's a weird episode all in all, we'll get back to that. Finally, there's the General. Underwhelming as far as Rogues Galleries go. And they were clearly running straight out of budget to tell his story well. But I get it. They did their job, they got the point across, his motivations are understandable, but I do feel like, whether it's rough writing or simply not enough time and budget, that his story felt a little flat in some ways. It's just not coming through. I'm not believing that this is a real human being, you know? You're getting close, but it needs more humanity, more honesty, more muchness.
You've lost your muchness.
Whatever happened to the concept of less is more?
But if less is more, than just think how much more and more will be.
I can't say that I was terribly invested in his character, but at least knowing that he was Lois's father makes me sympathize with her when she says that she had a strained relationship with her dad. A lot of times in media, sometimes even in real life, you hear these conversations and the dad is thrown under the bus despite not having actually done much, if anything, wrong, and the girl is just an overreacting jerk, but is portrayed as the victim. Needless to say, we should not do that. Here, though, it actually works. A guy like this, not being the best dad, totally buy it. It makes sense. Lois is very sympathetic here. And she's not totally trying to cut him out of her life. She does make an effort. That's the other worst part about that trope. The dad makes one mistake and suddenly it's, I hate you, don't ever talk to me ever again! Despite the logical and mature course of action being to talk about it and work something out. Like adults. And if that doesn't work out, then fine. At least you can say you tried. And Lois can say she tried. Good for you, Lois. Healthy relationships, people. Well, you know, semi-healthy We're getting there. No, I should have said healthy conflict resolution. That's yes. Okay. Moving on. But that twist of the general being Lois's dad, that felt straight out of Spider-Man. I know that this has probably been done a lot before Spider-Man, but that's just where my mind goes, okay? Okay, main character time. While I like a lot of things they did with Clark, I don't like how they made him such a soy boy. There's having a kind heart, and then there's giving your lead a sprinkle bib. Okay? Help! There's writing a man who knows how to be both strong and gentle, and then there's writing a blushing dork who sleeps in a pink t-shirt. They are so close to achieving peak himbo energy. You know, like Kronk, but not quite as dumb.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
What's the term for that? Anyway, you know what I'm saying. They're getting so close to peak something, but they're missing in the masculinity department just enough that it's not landing. How am I expected to enjoy a romance story when I myself am not attracted to the male lead? Come on. Again, they just need to have Clark be more of a man. And I don't mean just ripping his shirt off. That also doesn't mean shutting himself down emotionally or being tough and edgy and mean. That's not, ugh. I like to think of Optimus Prime in times like these. I love the story about how the iconic Optimus Prime voice came about. The actor Peter Cullen once said in an interview that he got the idea after talking with his brother Larry, who served in Vietnam as a decorated Marine. He was telling him about the part he was auditioning for, how it was supposed to be this hero robot, and his face went somber.
And his face got somber, and he said, Peter, if you're going to be a hero, be a real hero. Don't be a Hollywood hero type with all the BS and all the yelling and screaming and trying to be tough. Be strong enough to be gentle.
That is what I always admired about Peter Cullen's performance, and especially the writing for Optimus in Transformers Prime specifically.
I am fine, General Bryce. How are you?
Now, Clark is no Optimus Prime, nor should he try to emulate Optimus. He's meant to be a bit of a Boy Scout. But in terms of trying to boost his masculinity for this particular show, that is the example I would look to. Be strong enough to be gentle. It's both. But in this show, while Clark is pretty strong, it just feels like in his personal life, he sometimes comes off as a bit of a doormat. I mean, he does push back. He pushes back against Lois, and he pushes back against rich tech guy, and so it's not like he's a total pushover, but at the same time, you know, it's just like, it's not giving, whatever that means. And especially in his superheroing, he is constantly taking a beating. You know, part of the fun of watching a superhero show is watching the good guy do cool things and punch bad guys. It's not like this particular aspect of the show needs an entire overhaul, but it does need at least a little bit of testosterone injected into it desperately. Trust me, you will thank me later. And again, when I say testosterone, I'm not just talking about, ooh, cool, truck and guns and muscles.
Zap, 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 pow, zap, pow.
That's as much testosterone as I would say that makeup and fake nails is femininity. It's just the most extreme version of that thing you can get until you're taking it to an unhealthy level. I just mean testosterone as in, you know, he's strong and capable and he takes the lead and he's not afraid to do the right thing, which they're so close. They are so close to achieving that perfect, but it's just, they have just a hint of soy boy just eating it plopped in there. It's just like spoiling the whole salad, you know? It needs more bacon, it does not need more soy. Do you get what I'm talking about? I don't know, man, I'm hungry.
It's the tofu.
So when it comes to Lois, as I said, her personality can grate at times, and I feel like she is always the one who bails Clark out, which is weird, but she's always the one to ultimately save Clark from getting the snot beaten out of him and help him save the day. It's not a terrible angle when you're thinking, how can I make this side character be relevant to the plot? But it's more so the fact that it keeps happening consistently up until the end where Clark does the thing on his own, only to be saved by her in the final confrontation. Again, it works as far as giving her character something meaningful to do, and relationship-wise, it helps show that they save each other, and it's like this balance, so yeah. But I think it's the fact that this pattern comes up so much of the time, it lowers my view of Clark because he can't handle things on his own. It makes him seem weak. Which, I know, is not exactly the message you want to send, don't show any weakness, boys, and definitely never let anyone help you. No, we all need help sometimes, but I feel like this just happens too much of the time and in the same way. Superman's beaten up, Lois has to come and pick him up from school. There's this one scene where she offers moral support and is there for him when he's having an emotionally rough time, and I like that. But the other half of the time?
Mom, come pick me up, I'm scared!
Look, I just want to see Superman being capable of taking out a villain or two on his own. Is that so wrong? Lois doesn't have to be involved with every battle, there are other things she could be doing. It's not a terrible way of writing, but I do feel like it could be better. Let's just mix it up a little, have some variety. When it comes to Jimmy, I don't know anything about OG Jimmy, so I'm not one to comment, but I find his character to be annoying a lot of the time. Surprisingly funny at others, but more than anything else, kind of just whiny and... I don't want to say pathetic, because that's too strong a word, but again, this show could just use a good, healthy dose of testosterone. Help him. He can still be the pathetic side character. We love our Ron-stoppables, people. Come on. But there just comes a point when you lose sight of what made that bit funny in the first place. All in all, I could take him or leave him. Quick pit stop in Kansas. Why is it always about Clark's mom? Why does the dad get sidelined so much?
Heart attack!
We need more Pa Kent! Keeping in mind, Pa is Clark's literal role model. His dad. I think it would be worthwhile to see more of their relationship and how he's raised Clark over the years. Anywho, I don't like Waller. In this or any media. I just hate her character. Ugh. There's just something about it. Like, smug, government worker, no human emotions, doing weird stuff, illegal stuff, bad vibes. Ugh. Anyway.
You suck!
My least favorite episode was the Multiverse episode! Let's go!
Yo, yo, woo, woo.
Okay, at this point, we know the drill. Multiverse boring and trite. We are so totally over it. And the League of Loises? Really? Really? That is so lame. It doesn't even make sense with her character. She's a journalist. This is the episode that made me consider dropping the show. Just open up that can of worms right off the bat, why don't you? I guess all I have to say about it is that it just comes out of nowhere. It destroys my suspension of disbelief. I know it serves to give that little clip of, but like, they couldn't have done that in any other way. They couldn't have found, I don't know, a memory drive on Clark's ship that showed a Kryptonian, like, for example, Zod, who could maybe look a lot like Clark, doing a bunch of evil things. Like, there's no other way this could have been done. You had to open the multiverse bottle, okay? Another thing, Clark's powers awakening over time. This is a Jonathan Kent thing, not a Clark Kent thing. I get that you're trying to combat power creep and you don't want him overpowered right from the first episode, but I also feel like John's been robbed of his story, so I don't know. You also probably really wanted this superhearing episode, didn't you? I have mixed feelings. Also, Lois wearing pants to a fancy gala. Have y'all never heard of dress codes? That is not formal attire. Get bounced, miss I'm not like other girls. What is so bad about wearing a nice dress anyway? What is the crime of wearing a nice dress and looking pretty? Come on. Overall, I'd say that this show has a lot of good ideas, and it knows what it wants to be and where it wants to go. And that is great. But it's lacking in just enough ways for me to not totally be 100% on board. First, in the writing, a lot of things fall flat. Suspenseful moments feel cut short or like it's not taken seriously enough. It's thin and there's no depth. It's trite, which is a shame because the story they're trying to tell is not. They are really close at times to being so good. The conversations and the arguments between Clark and Lois are refreshing in this post-Amber world.
The word I'm searching for, I can't say, because there's preschool toys present.
But it just could be better. That is all I am saying. It's not 100% pulling me in and keeping me there. And there are times when it feels like things are just happening. Like that confrontation scene Clark had with the rich guy. Him trying to bribe Clark like that just felt unnatural and weird and out of left field, and the way they showed it, the camera work was not elevating the point they were trying to make. The whole setup for the scene just felt half done, like they didn't know what they were doing. They just knew they wanted Clark to stand up for Lois and either didn't care or didn't have time to figure out how to get there. You know, it's slapped together.
Slap. Bye, have a great time.
I hope they get to make season 2, and I hope their writing improves. I also hope that they get more time and money, because this is still a very good setup for a greater story, warts and all. Like I said, this show has a lot of good things to recommend it, and it is entertaining. All it has to do is overcome its biggest hurdles, and it will be a superb show. I believe those main hurdles are, first and foremost, they need testosterone in there somewhere, desperately, especially some in Clark. Trust me, that will also make him way more attractive. Having a guy who's more reserved with how he shows affection versus a guy who's constantly fawning over a girl like a simp. Just have the compliments and the doting feel earned and used in important moments. The more you throw out compliments, the more worthless they become. Please level up the villains. They used to be cool and interesting. This
is just a rock.
None of these guys feel threatening, which makes it more pathetic that Clark keeps getting the snot beaten out of him by these guys. I get that he's just starting out and this is his first time on the job, but it does get old. Please let Zod and the Brainiac be good. It would also be nice if they could, just make everything be taken a bit more seriously. Not all the time. Please, don't misunderstand. What I've always found in writing is that you need to have the contrast. The darkest times and the best light of times. You notice when a comedic show gets serious, and that serious moment feels really good. You wanna know why? It's because it's a standout moment in a show of otherwise just brevity. And it's like, whoa, the comedic character just got serious. Oh my goodness. Or in a serious show, when things take a lighthearted turn. Why do you think people like the Bat Family so much? It's because in this sea of darkness and angst and all these terrible things, you have this really wholesome kind of family. They have little wholesome moments. And the Bat Family fan base is just constantly searching for those moments because they want that for these people who are so broken and lost and hurting, you know?
I don't normally feel things, but that one got through.
It's the contrast. You need to have both the great times and the horrible times. Kind of like real life. What a shock. And then there's just upping their writing game. I think this mostly comes down to knowing what's working and what isn't. It's something you can't exactly explain or advise in a video like this. It mostly comes down to making sure you have the skills on your team to be able to create something of professional quality and to be able to notice when it's not of professional quality and adjust accordingly. The thing I can advise, though, is make sure that the writing is honest as can be. I want my suspension of disbelief to remain intact. Make me believe that these are real human beings with real emotions and real motivations, who say smart things and surprise you sometimes, like real people do. Okay, I take that back. Real people say a lot of stupid stuff too, but still, you get my point. And as long as they keep the message that the light conquers the dark, with that as their guiding force, I think they'll be okay. And I am looking forward to season 2. So long as nothing terrible happens. Please let nothing terrible happen. I give this show maybe a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Maybe a 6.5, meet in the middle. I like it enough that I want to see if it gets better. Let's put it that way.